Hello, and welcome to Under the Pressure, a show where we interview everyday people about what motivates them to find happiness in their lives. The second of this two-part series is about individuals who have been through the trenches but continue to go on. First, we will be meeting with Hoe III. As a father, he wants to be his son's number one supporter. As for himself, he's finding ways to be his own number one. Let's listen in and get a closer look at what keeps this guy going.
My name is Ronald Maurice Hoe III. I was born in Würzburg, Germany. From Germany, I don't remember anything. I was really little. I think I was probably about 2 or 3 once we moved out of the country and moved back to the States. My dad was in the Army. Actually, my dream was to be a football player, but some of my athletic skills did not carry on as I got older. So, things like that happen, but I do still have a passion for coaching, so much knowledge for the game. I would probably say my favorite athlete in football is probably Charles Woodson. I play wide receiver. A lot of people who don't know Charles Woodson, when he was at Michigan, he actually played both sides. My mom in law enforcement, has been all her life. And my dad is in accounting. That's what he went to school for. He works at an airport, a small charter airline. They're both very close to me. I had them growing up all my life. My parents not together now, but I'm still very close with both my parents. I believe it was Savannah, Georgia. I remember very little of that because my uncle lives in Georgia as well. He still does to this day. But Savannah, Georgia was next, and then Hawaii was after. And then my dad finally got out of the military, and that's where I moved to Virginia. And I was like 5. Virginia, we actually lived with my uncle because my uncle was already living there. So we lived with him for a little while, and then we, once got settled in, and I was there for 12 years before I moved again because my dad's job always had him relocating and stuff like that. I call Virginia home. Anybody asking me where I'm from, Virginia Beach all day, 757, what's up? That's home to me. I have the best time of my life there. Very different. You move from city/beach life to Amish town. It's completely different. The high school I went to, we had a farm literally across the street from the school. The school district had 2 schools, the middle school and the high school, literally right across from me. They shared the same parking lot. It was different, but it was a very great experience. Very diverse people. It was, one of those areas where it's not a lot of blacks, but there's some there. But it was a very well-rounded area. I remember the first day we moved it was actually January 1st, 03. It was snow everywhere. I'd never seen that much snow. I've seen snow, and down south you get snow, it's like everything shut down. Up there, no, you're still going to school, all of that, you know what I'm saying? So it's different though. The cold up north is way different than down south. So it's like, I actually rather be up north. If it's gonna be cold, I'd rather be up north than down south. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't like it. At first, I only spent a year and a half in Pennsylvania. So it was kind of funny to me because it was like from Pennsylvania to Virginia when I wanted to travel it was 6 hours. It's the same amount from here to Virginia, 6 hours. So it's like, I'm not closer, but I'm closer. But at first it was kind of like, because every time before we moved, I either was finishing the semester or finishing the school year. With me moving from Pennsylvania to Charlotte, I had just finished the school year in my 10th grade year. And then that whole summer, I was pretty much a homebody. I stayed home until I actually started school at East Met. Literally the next day after graduation, back to Virginia. My dad's job again. From PA to North Carolina, same situation. They needed a management position for his airline company that he works for, and they needed it actually in Monroe. So he found a place in Charlotte. He didn't mind commuting back and forth no matter how far. And then my dad was always big into trying to find a good church home because I was always raised in church. So that was one of the big reasons why decisions he made to where different locations we moved to. Well, it definitely was different because I'm 18 now, just graduated. All my friends are supposed to be all graduated the same year. So we was looking to do bigger and better things. Everybody was going to school. Even though school was going on, we still always stayed close to each other. Just adulthood. That's what's next most of the time, like in high school. So. Well, that decision I thought was big because Before her and I even made it official to be boyfriend and girlfriend, she already knew I was moving back. That decision was already made. My dad, I believe the November of my senior year, he had already started working in Virginia. It was just me and my mom. That whole time he was like, I'm not gonna move you again, you in your senior year. It don't make sense to move again for your senior year. So my mom and I stayed down here in Charlotte. We were friends for a year before we even, she even started liking me. I didn't even know. I had to find out from a friend. You know how it used to go, yeah, I ain't like you, stuff like that. Once we talked about it and made it official, I thought that was big. She didn't care that I was leaving. I made her happy, and so she wanted to be my girlfriend. So I thought that was big of her. Very mature of her to make that decision. Well, my biggest thing was I wasn't in school at the time, and I was about to be 21, and I still live with my parents. That whole sentence all together to myself, I always thought that to myself. I'm 21, and I live with my parents. Nah, I gotta get out of here. I would get on the Greyhound and come down here and take that long ride, because I didn't have a car at the time. So I did anything, I didn't mind traveling. How I got there, plane, bus, car, whatever. And I was very dependent on myself at the time, so I didn't ask my parents, hey, Mom, can you drive me to North Carolina? I didn't ask. I just, hey, can you take me to Greyhound, get my ticket? I was making my own money, whatever, my job. I would come down. I came maybe like 3 times before I said, you know what, Charlotte would be a good place to grow. Cost of living is way better than Virginia, no disrespect. The cost of living in Virginia is pretty high, so I was only 20 at the time before I actually moved. So. With the grace of God, man, I was able to stay true to myself. People that I've known and that I've met, they've always loved me for who I am and not for what I could be or what I would have been. And I'm really laid back, and I don't really approach people initially. People will say to me that I'm antisocial. That's only because I'm guarded with people that I may converse with, because you might not be for me in my life. But once I get to know people, it's just like we've been friends forever and stuff like that. So I just always learned that from my mom, to stay true to myself. To be honest with you, I thought she was the one. I guess my maturity level with relationships was always a step above from in my age area or whatever. I've always thought to myself that she was the one very early. So I did what I could to make it work. And that's why I made the big move to change my whole lifestyle from Virginia. That's home. I literally left home on my own, not because my parents or my dad's job had to relocate. I made the decision on my own to move and to be with her. Honestly, no, because she actually told me when we were young that she was not having no kids. So I told her from the jump, I said, well, you want to mess with me, you don't have a kid, because I've always been a family person. So we had a discussion. She was like, if I ever have any kids, you're probably the only person I would have them, because she knows I'm good with kids. And she got nieces and nephews that were young, and I was always good with them, even though they didn't know me from a can of paint. So she could see the father figure in me before I actually became a father. Called cheating. You need to keep it all the way 100. Every man cheats, just about. If you don't, all respect to you. But most men cheat, and I was, one of them. You agree with you, so she stayed. And that's when I was like, okay, I gotta clean up my act, stop being young and dumb, and make this thing work the best way possible. Being unhappy and not being honest with your partner from the jump would have saved me a lot of trouble had I been honest from the jump and let her know that I wasn't happy. So I was just, trying to find happiness elsewhere, which is obviously not the smartest thing to do. Love, man. Women carry love way deeper than men ever will. It took a minute for her to forgive me, as natural, but, the fact that she did love me. I didn't have to really do anything specific. I just had to gain her trust slowly but surely. I had to regain her trust back. It wasn't going to be overnight. That takes time. Your actions speak way louder than your words. So I could say, I'm going to Isaac's house, and really go to Isaac's house, you know what I'm saying, rather than, using it as an excuse. I talk to my dad a lot about it because he can relate. So, that's a story in itself. But I talk to my dad about it, use my mentor, Andre, and talk to them about it. And they, sit me down. Everything's gonna be all right, whatever, things happen. You're young, whatever, but do what you gotta do to fix it and make it right. And you can grow from that. Just being completely honest from the start is less stressful. The stress of having to tell a lie on top of another lie is like, you're gonna run out of lies eventually. The energy you have when you tell the honest truth from the jump, it's less stressful. That's my ace, man. That's my ace, Boom Coon. He's definitely me all over again. Every time I see him, it's like looking in the mirror from 23 years ago. You know what I mean? I'm thankful for him that I had him when I had him. I mean, timing is everything. And it's crazy because like we were at our lowest, kind of at our lowest point in our relationship. It was just like rocky financially, and we were just like looking at each other like, how in the world are we going right to have a kid right now? Like the timing is all bad, but it was all right at the same time. So having him was just perfect, and it made us a lot closer. Jaden, he means everything to me. I do anything for him, help him grow into the young man he wants to be, and not what I want him to be. That's the biggest thing. God gave me a son for a reason, and that's how I look at it. Because there's a lot of mistakes that I made when I was young, and I'm gonna try to teach him the best way I can to not make those same mistakes. I'm telling you, he is just like me. The way he acts, his demeanor, he's just like me. I look at him like a second life because he is definitely me all over again. It makes Nikki mad sometimes because she look at him and she be like, he's just like your dad, and it makes me sick sometimes. Because there's certain things he do, he's stubborn, he just does what he wants, he's spoiled. He's still the only child, so I want him to do whatever he wants to do, no matter what. If it's gonna be hard, I'm gonna help you, and I'm gonna always be there for you no matter what. But whatever it is you wanna be that, and use it to your full advantage. Once you find that gift, exploit it and use it to your best ability. At the same time, I want to teach him to do things your way. Do it how you want to do it, not because you want the approval out of me. Do it because you want to do it for yourself. I want him to understand to always put God first, be thankful to others, respect your elders, stay in school, always, stay sharp in school because we can always be distracted, especially with their generation is way insane. I can only imagine if we were 14, 15 and had Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat. Man, it's just insane, like the way social media can corrupt your mind and distract you from everything that's most important, like education and putting God first and stuff like that. So. Honestly, it doesn't bother me because if that were to happen, it's gonna happen. There's nothing I can do about it because it would be selfish of me to be neglectful of Nikki's happiness for her sake. That's just selfishness all the way around. But he'll know I'll always be there for him. Nikki and I have a firm agreement that I'm never gonna be out of his life. So God forbid if I pass away or whatever, I'm always gonna be there for him. I always think ahead of the time for him. So. Right now we're not together. Certain things happen, you fall out of love, get frustrated with certain things in a relationship, and sometimes you have to be apart. And like I said, I didn't want to be selfish for her happiness. We both, mutually kind of just parted ways. No, not at all. I mean, 9 years, how many people my age can say they've been in a relationship for 9 years, let alone 2? That's a struggle as itself. 2 years is really nothing anymore. That's like 2 months. 2 years back then used to be like, damn, y'all been together for 2 years, bro. Y'all finna get married. You know what I'm saying? But my relationship was great while it lasted, so. Absolutely. I mean, of course, breaking up with someone you've been, in love with for so long, you kind of got to start. You got to think to yourself, and you got to put yourself first. Sometimes you kind of always put the person you love in front of you. But sometimes it puts you in a bind when you do that, and it just doesn't work out sometimes. So that's where I'm at with that. No, not at all. But what I've learned from it is to be patient. If God will to bless me with another relationship with maybe someone else or with her again, I'm going to take my time. I'm not going to rush it because like I said, we've been together since high school. We was young, 17, 16, you know what I'm saying? Don't know what you want to do in life yet at that age. But what I've learned most is to be more patient with the decisions I make, especially relationship-wise. Because having a relationship is, one, not easy, and sometimes you just make it hard on yourself by not waiting. You rush into it, and then what happens next? You fall for something you thought you had. It's like, no, that's not what you expected in a relationship. So it's like, you wasn't like that a couple months ago. Just things just change. Even when you move in together, everything changes. All that long distance stuff we had, everything changed. It's almost like being married. And then being married is a whole nother level. But that never got to that point, but people understand. My next move right now is just really focusing on my son, trying to take care of him the best way we can, because we literally just freshly separated. Just working hard, doing what I can for him, especially when I have him, just all the way 100 with him. That's all I'm focused on. Be honest with you, I need to make time. I have a very passionate mind for football, because I would sit there, me and my best friend Isaac, we just pick at it like we're watching film. And we'll see the play happen before the snap is even, you know what I'm saying? It's a gift that as I've gotten older, it's a gift that I've kind of noticed that I've had, and I need to utilize it. I mean, really nothing specific. It's just what everybody else wants, to just be successful, be inspiring to others, especially kids, just in this generation especially, in any way possible. I just like to be a light in people's lives and not be a burden to anyone.
Up next, we talk with this interesting individual, Brantli Senn. Brantli wasn't raised with much material wealth, but through her experiences, she's managed to gain more wealth than even she could ever imagine. Get your notepads ready, because there's some good information in this one.
My name is Brantli Senn. I'm from Newberry, South Carolina. Newberry is a small rural town. Most of the industry revolves around plants, an education system, and agriculture. Growing up in Newberry, there's not a whole lot to do. There's not a lot of movies, bowling alleys, malls, a lot of country riding, back roads type of living. We're on camera? No. Honestly, yeah, a lot of that was just hanging out at friends' houses. Some people, maybe going to parties, hanging out at parks, a lot of outdoor activities. Hey, my mom, Kelly, she is a teacher. My father, Lionel, he works for the city. He's remarried. And then I have a younger brother, Mackenzie, who I grew up with. We are so much alike, but so different at the same time. And then I have a younger sister, Kennedy. We didn't grow up together, but we're developing a relationship now. My childhood was very interesting. I always like to tell people, I never quote this, I never state this quote correctly. I've had a lot of rain clouds, but I've also had a great deal of rainbows. A lot of my childhood was playing outdoors in the creek, getting in trouble, falling in the creek all the time, trying to do what the boys were doing. But there was also a lot of instability, a lot of moving around, not really knowing what's going to happen next type of experience. No, not at all. First of all, I grew up in several different neighborhoods. I have lived in just about every single part of Newberry. I was always around poverty, and our family experienced poverty, but even compared to some of the people we were around, we were a lot better off than what I was submerged around. Poverty when you're young, you don't have that educational label to put over it. You just have this feeling that you feel when you're around somebody. I should know this, or I don't deserve this, in type of energy. So that feeling came pretty young. I can't really put my finger on the exact moment, but it was definitely elementary. Before I was tracked into the honors program, which placed me around predominantly people who were either middle class or upper middle class, no, I was never treated any differently, because everybody in my class pretty much had the same struggle. You didn't call anybody out if you called their number and the phone was disconnected. Everybody knew, like, we're not gonna talk about that. Call me back in 2 more weeks, we might have it back on. But once I hit, 5th grade, 6th grade on up, it wasn't so much that I was treated differently. It's almost actually the opposite. Like, they expected the same from me. Like, they expected me to be able to go out with them and go do this and go do that. And they had no context of the fact that I just couldn't ask my mom for $20. That was a lot. That was like 4 meals to her. So to ask her to go and get $20 so I can go to Sonic with my friends for ice cream was just unheard of. And I don't think that my peers were sensitive to that or aware of that. I did. Often I would walk around with my head down. I really wouldn't share my ideas. I never felt that I was intelligent or smart, even though I was in honors classes. I felt like the dumb, smart kid, if that makes any sense. I felt very, very less than. And I think that was a combination of behaviors that I received from outsiders, as well as my own interpretation of certain behaviors, meaning I think I created some of that insecurity, and it wasn't so much that people were trying to put me down. I never really had typical days. I lived with the feeling that the rug was going to be pulled up from underneath my feet constantly, so that's difficult. I actually, 3 years ago, sat down with my mom and had her and I talk to kind of go over all the different places we had lived and people we had to live with at times. And there was a time period where we didn't have a home, and so we either like slept in her car or we stayed at relatives' houses, and I had completely forgotten about that. Like, I had blocked that whole chunk out of I was like, I stayed there? I don't remember living with me at like such and such. And so asking me what a typical day is just, that's a task. I would need a day to reflect and come back at you with that, so. My mom is a master chef and a master at making something out of nothing. But an old faithful would definitely be, when times were hard, would either be macaroni and tomatoes or like pinto beans and tomatoes. We always had stewed tomatoes in the house for some reason. Ain't nothing else but some stewed tomatoes. There were definitely nights where there wasn't any food, but I was blessed to have a family unit. None of my family members had much, but they had enough to give you a portion of what they had, which is a blessing. As a kid, I didn't see it that way. It was embarrassing. It was, I'm a burden. I always need somebody. I'm always taken from somebody. And I think that impacted me a lot as an adult because I shy away from asking for help, because I don't ever want to make someone feel like I'm imposing upon them, or I'm a burden, when in fact, that's a beautiful thing. That's an act of community. I'm happy to say that my brother and I and my mother have a very good relationship now. Then it was very difficult. We all had our own battles. We all handled our experiences differently. And oftentimes, instead of turning towards one another, we turned against one another. So there was this constant conflict between my brother and I. There was this constant conflict between my mother and I. And that just made me want to be like, I'm out. Like, I just can't wait to get away from this. Like, I'm done. When I get on my own, I'm not going to have to deal with this. But yeah, life showed me something else. But it was difficult. I think that I often was the voice of reason. And I also think that I have been blessed to have several doors open to me, which have afforded me opportunities and exposure to things that a lot of my family members would have never been exposed to. So that cultural awareness, that this exposure to another life, I've been able to bring back to my family. That in itself allows my family to create a vision beyond what they see, to think bigger than their everyday experience, and to see that they can create a life beyond anything they've ever imagined before. I think that's my strongest asset to my family right now, which is hard because that requires me to continue to go out into the world and not be with them or where they are all the time. It was very difficult. It was difficult for my mother coming up. My mother went through things that I could never imagine going through. Certainly. I certainly think so. And I think that a lot of things that she experienced, she made sure that my brother and I would never have to experience it. And I think that's the idea of parenting, is you're not going to get it right. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes, but you want your next generation to be better. And you see that from both sides of my family. My grandmother on my father's side, her upbringing, her life experiences versus her children. She has children who have master degrees and who are buying their dream homes right now, whereas she never got past a 9th grade education. So to see that progress in my family is It's inspiring. It really is. Honestly, more importantly, is my ability to have a vision, to have hope. I mean, you can look around, here, and I have constant reminders, visual reminders that I give myself of who I want to become and what I should be. And I think creating a vision which leads to hope, and my drive propels me to that vision. But even taking it a step further, I would say that the difference between me and a lot of other people who grew up in my situation was the fact that someone took the time to see me and to hear me and to affirm my existence. And from there, I just took it and ran. I was free. No, I had a lot of freedom growing up as a teenager, but I was away from seeing people that I love struggle. Sometimes going back home is hurtful because I see the people that I love going through some of the same things day in and day out with that same defeated mentality they carry. So it is easy to fall into, but at college it was just this whole new world of opportunity, and like a load had been lifted off of my shoulders. It was like that for like the first semester or two. And then reality comes back too, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. I got scholarships. I got some scholarships to go to college, and I also was eligible for need-based grants and loans because of my mother's income. Everything. I took all my baggage, all 600 pounds of it, thinking I was going to be free. I took a lot of bias, a lot of weight with me to college, but I found out that made me a huge asset in the academic arena, because we would often study or talk about people like me. I didn't realize people like to talk about poor people. That's a topic of conversation, and people want to study it and understand it. College was the first time, honestly saying this out loud is where I'm kind of first having this epiphany, but it was the first place that I felt like I had something to say, and I had something to add that was valuable, and it was because of my experience. That was empowering, but I also carried my lack of confidence and my lack of worth, or not lack of worth, because I have worth, but feeling as if I have worth with me. And that reflected in some of my decisions. I wasn't as involved in college as I would have liked to be. So I kind of shied away from those struggles. When I went away to college, everyone was all excited, everyone chipped in, everybody bought me a little iron, college survival pack. They were excited. My brother was very sad. But for the most part, everyone was proud of me. I actually have my card over there my aunt wrote me for high school graduation. And her quote she shared with me, and it got me through a lot, was by Eleanor Roosevelt: "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." And that is the quote that kept me coming to the table as if I had a place. We kind of went over that problem solution mindset that I developed at a young age. And I'm pretty creative, and I try to figure out how to make things work. And I think also growing up in such an unstable environment that you are hypersensitive to change and patterns, and so you can pick up patterns with things. And I made a lot of mistakes. I kept messing up and making stupid decisions, but then I would see other people live this way. And that's where that training of being able to see patterns and behaviors and being hypersensitive allowed me to be such a great learner of human behavior and habits. I just started studying, how do they live like that? I want to do that. I want to not be struggling from month to month. I want to buy a car. How do you buy a car? How do you build credit? So I asked. I just started asking people that I knew, that I didn't know. Anytime they'd start talking about finances, I just became interested in it. I want to know about this. Y'all know something I don't know, and I don't like it. So, I have several books now about finance. I've shown an interest in learning about it. Even to this day, I have a coworker who comes in, and I had one conversation with her about finance, and now she brings me all the stuff about retirement, about Roth accounts. I believe that's how, what they're called. I've got loads of stuff, reading material. In general, my family on both sides of my family. They have progressed exponentially. They are experiencing things that 5, 6, 7 years ago we would have never thought that we would have experienced. So there's a lot of growth, a lot of growth. Actually, going away to college, they weakened a lot. I had 2 tragedies on both sides of my family that brought us together. It was actually the first time after graduating college, I moved away to Fayetteville, North Carolina to work and live. 3 months in being there, my great uncle Jimmy passed away. That put things into perspective for me and my family on my mom's side. And so we started fixing things and developing relationships there. And then this year, I moved to Georgetown, and 3 months, 2 months into being here, my family on my dad's side lost my first cousin, back in October. So that has really brought our families together. And I'm seeing relationships develop that I never knew. I mean, like my cousin Stanley, we've been kicking it since the playpen, but even now it's just a rich relationship. And I know that when I'm struggling, I feel defeated and I need to call somebody, I can call on him. I know I can call on my brother when I feel like I want to just throw in the towel and I feel like I'm never going to reach that point of success that I want. I can call on them. I love working in the community with younger children, especially that kid who keeps their head down, who doesn't really look up. And you look at them and you realize that nobody really ever looks at them and their face lights up, and then you start interacting with them. And I love helping kids see talents they have that they didn't realize they possess. I look to give these kids the same opportunity that I had with the wisdom that I learned, so that their lessons are a little less difficult than mine. Because I was that kid at some point, and somebody saw something in me and helped me realize my own strength and helped me to empower myself. And that's the ultimate gift that I feel like you can give anybody, is the realization that they carry power. In the same breath, in the same exchange, you reaching out to someone and affirming them and healing them brings you some sense of affirmation and healing. It's an equal exchange. And I think that when I reach out and I see that I'm able to give that to somebody, it gives purpose to my experience and it brings peace for me. You can feel the flow. For someone going through adversity or going through a hard time, that it's important to be honest with yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. Spend time with yourself and really figure those out, but be gentle with yourself. The same compassion and love that you would share with somebody else, that same compassionate tone that you would speak with to someone else, remember to speak to yourself that way. Because you're not where you want to be, and it seems like you may never get there, but you will, only if you support yourself and you don't stand in your own way. There's enough negativity out there, and you're with yourself 24/7, 365. You're your #1 influence, so be conscious of how you speak to yourself.
Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Under the Pressure. Be sure to check out our Facebook page for updates and to be included in on various discussions. Tune in same time next month, and remember, motivation starts with you.